Hello and welcome to the NFDI Talks. I'm Elena and I'm working in the NFDI Association's head office. In our NFDI Talks, every 2 weeks, scientists from different disciplines present exciting topics around research data infrastructure and management. All our talks are live streamed and saved on our YouTube channel. Exclusively in Zoom, we invite you to discuss the topics and ask your questions after the presentation. So in this episode, we will take a closer look into one NFDI consortia. BERD at NFDI is an initiative to build a powerful platform for collecting, processing, analyzing, and preserving business, economic, and related data, all in one place. In this talk, Klaus Tochtermann and Ahmed Saleh will present us how BERD is utilizing Invenio to build a powerful cloud-based research data management platform. Klaus Tochtermann is the director of the ZBW Leibniz Information Center for Economics and a professor in computer science. He is a member of the board of directors of the EOSC and Association and also a member of the Scientific Senate of NFDI, as well as a co-spokesperson of the consortia BERD at NFDI. Ahmed Saleh is a research assistant at ZBW and the CTO of the consortia BERD at NFDI. And now, welcome Klaus and Ahmed.
Thank you very much, Elena. Welcome, all of you. Welcome to all the colleagues from the BERD Consortium who are here with us today. And I will start with the presentation, and Ahmed will share the presentation with us. Yeah, thank you, Ahmed. Okay.
Sure.
This is the title. The talk will consist of 3 parts. I will start with a brief introduction into the project BERD at NFDI. Ahmed will then give an overview of the BERD platform, and I will close with lessons learned with the Invenio research data management framework we are using. That is the idea. In the talk, we will mainly focus on aspects which are related to the, could you go one slide back? I just say next. We will only focus on aspects related to the technical platform. There are definitely other aspects within the consortium of BERD at NFDI, which are not that closely related to the platform. The platform is one aspect. Community outreach, for example, is another aspect of BERD, which is not covered today. So it's a tool talk, and therefore we focus on the platform. Next slide, please. The BERD at NFDI is, as Elena mentioned already, a consortium in the field of business management and related fields. There, in that field, we want to support the community with research data management. And one difference to other consortia is that we are a relatively young community with respect to research data management. There is another consortium which you probably have heard of, that is Consort SWD, resulting from the RAT SWD, RAT SWD. And that one is also related to the social sciences, to economics. That one has a long history, and it starts at a completely different level for business management and related fields. For example, no single point of upload of research data in that field does exist, and BERD wants to close that gap we have identified. For that reason, we are currently here developing the BERD platform. It's based on a cloud solution, so all what you hear today runs on a cloud system, not on premises in one of the participating institutions. It's hosted outside in a cloud. And the key elements of this platform are a data portal as a community service. This exactly serves the purpose that the community in business management will be enabled to upload the data they are using, they generated for later use. And of course, it also supports search and retrieval of the data. A special feature is a marketplace for data from companies. And this is also the reason why the spokesman of the BERD Consortium has initiated the section industry engagement, because BERD is one of the consortia which is closely connected with the companies. And for that reason, we also want to offer a marketplace where companies can promote their data. The idea is not that the data itself is stored in the marketplace, but the idea is that metadata is available there, and that we, the platform, connects the researchers and the companies in the sense that researchers can identify a data set from a company and then can start discussing, negotiating with the company how and for what purpose they can use this particular set of company data. Another aspect relates to the connection between publications, data, and analytics services. This analytics services relates to AI tools and methods, because in business management, often AI tools are used to analyze a set of data, and then the outcome of this analysis is published or will be published in a publication. And for that reason, the community considered it of great importance to have these triples, publication, data, and software, analytics software in that case, so that you can identify, for example, which AI method has been used for what data set, or for a publication which refers to a data and an analytics method. You can then access the data and the analytics method to reproduce, for example, the approach of the publication. And finally, we have a special service, an OCR service for company reports, because in like many companies are publishing annual company reports, and particularly those from the past are of great importance for a certain community within business management. And for that reason, we offer an OCR service, which in principle allows like the community to promote a special company service they are interested in. Then it will be digitized and made available through the platform. A little bit beyond the platform, the core platform is the BERD Academy, which facilitates training and learning related to research data. Here is, next slide, please, Ahmed. Here is an overview of the BERD Consortium. The leading institution is the University of Mannheim, and we have 7 co-applicants. Among those co-applicants is the ZBW, and ZBW is responsible for all the technical infrastructure for the technology development within the project. Other contributors to the technology development are, for example, GESIS and Munich. And then we have a set of community partners who provide like requirements from the community. And this is a first specific you might be familiar with. That is always the question, well, who owns the platform and who provides the platform? The technical or the owner of the BERD platform in our case is the University of Mannheim as applicant institution, as the leading institution. Still, ZBW, who has the responsibility for the technical services, is the technical service provider. We are not the owner. And as a consequence, we need an agreement on how to deal with the data. We need a data processing agreement between the owner and the provider. And that is, I mean, that's a situation you might have been faced with as well. It's somehow a weird situation because in relation to the platform, we have this agreement between an owner and a provider, but at the same time, according to the Mittelweiterleitungsvertrag, we are project partners. And that's a unusual situation, I would say, because yeah, it's as project partners, we have the same rights according to the Mittelweiterleitungsvertrag, but according to a data processing agreement, it's different. And it took us a couple of months to agree on this data processing agreement. And here again, many thanks to Vasilka, who is also here today, who is our data protection officer in the project who did really a great job to bring together the owner, University of Mannheim, and there it was indeed the data protection officer of the University of Mannheim, so somebody external who had to negotiate with the ZBW this agreement, and Vasilka was in between, so to say. It's an unusual situation, yes, and I would like to learn how other consortia have solved this issue, because I'm pretty sure it's not only an issue of the BERD Consortium. In the end, it went well. And again, thanks to the colleagues in Mannheim who were very, was very constructive and flexible according to include the requirements from the University of Mannheim and ZBW. That is so far the intro from my side, and I would now like to hand over to you, Ahmed, right? Because you start now with the platform issues.
Yes, thanks a lot, Klaus, and welcome to the platform presentation. I'm glad to show you the technical aspects of BERD, where barriers between academia and industry dissolve, allowing a collaboration and transparent share of data. I will present you different technical aspects, and the first aspect I would start with is the cloud infrastructure of BERD. So we used a cloud provider to host our infrastructure. And the way we structured our project is usually the standard, like for software development, by having testing and production server. Whenever we have a new feature, we usually push it into the test server. We try it out until we make sure that it runs smoothly. And we have usually a monthly release to the production server just to make it up and running and live in the platform itself. We were also thinking about like a backup strategy for our platform, and we came up with a weekly backup strategy for our servers, like having a snapshots for the entire servers, and we are thinking also to back up like the data sets itself, like the database and so on. So our cloud provider is actually always backing up the data sets, like the S3 storage, but from our side as well, we will do like also a second layer. So we are also working on this backup strategy at different layers. Right? And we handle the connections with the users with a load balancer, also to make sure that we don't have like a DDoS attacks or something like this in the future. And so like what we see in the figure is like the two servers in the left side are the test server, the two in the right side are the production server, and the one in between is the mockup server. This is a server we used internally to present mockups of the platform itself. And communicate with other partners, the consortium members of the project, how BERD could look like and so on. So I think now, since we already have the first version of the platform, we don't use the mockup server that much, but we use it for other testing purposes. The sketch for the architecture design of the different components of BERD, in BERD we are using Invenio, as you have noticed in the title, and that's it's depending on a service-oriented architecture, and it's different services connected to each other. And those services, they also, some of them, they are following the model view controller architecture. So for example, you have like a one service for administration, a one service for login, and like for search and so on. And there we have the cloud, the business, economics, and related data cloud. So that's the left side. In BERD, we have the crawlers. So that's our partner Basis is actually working intensively on the crawlers of BERD, and collecting different business resources and then mapping it to a common data model of BERD and indexing it into our database and making them searchable for the users and different aspects. I would show it to you in the platform in a minute. So the first part is the crawlers. As I mentioned, we are harvesting different data sources, but we still actually are working on which data sources to harvest. So we have now the first pipeline. So having some resources mapped to DataCite and being able to index them in the platform, right? So inside in BERD, we talked quite a lot about like which kind of data set we wanted to have. And the general agreement is that we don't want to be just another research data management platform that collects a huge amount of data and just makes them available. We wanted rather to have like a high quality data, and not only high quality data, we wanted to allow like companies, corporates, as Klaus mentioned, for example, to upload their data sets and make it available to researchers to work on it and so on. Yeah, so we created like a simple ingestion pipeline, and this ingestion pipeline is currently integrated with BERD, like, or let's say with Invenio version 12, and we still need to connect it to our BERD platform in different aspects. And now I would start with a platform demo. Okay, I think you probably now see my screen. That's a platform, and it's the beta version of the platform. So we are still not accepting users yet, but we are kind of close actually to the public release version, more or less. In the BERD platform, we have like, of course, the main search engine. We have like 4 portals, as Klaus mentioned in his presentation. Like one is the data portal. I think this is the most important one for now. This is a portal that allows the companies or research institutes to upload their data sets. And companies or research institute can choose whether to make it open or closed, restricted, right? And I think this is a competency of BERD, or one of the main features. This is like called the data marketplace features, data marketplace feature, where a company actually knows exactly who is working with their own data set. I will show that to you in a minute. We have also like a training and educational module, exactly what Klaus mentioned. So BERD is not only about platform, but we have different services like the BERD Academy, giving courses to researchers and more. Going into the data portal. So the main features of the data portal is, as I mentioned, so you can become a corporate partner. So a company can, for example, request an account in BERD at some point, and they could upload their own dataset. So that's the dataset they wanted to make available for research institutes and researchers to work on, and so on. And here we describe in detail on like the process of how a company could actually make an account and make their dataset available to researchers, and so on. So coming back to the data portal. And so assuming that the company is now already having an account and they uploaded their datasets, let's just start browsing. So as we mentioned, like our resource type, so the main resource type here would be also like the open datasets, the datasets that are publicly available, and the marketplace datasets. And as I mentioned earlier, this version is currently a beta version of the platform. So we still, we are not online yet, and therefore we don't have like a marketplace datasets, but we are in process of inviting some companies to upload their own datasets, and we are, I think, already in contact with a couple of companies, but that's also our partner Mannheim, I think, is doing a great job there. The open datasets are the datasets that available for everyone, so to say. And let's just open one of those data sets, for example. Yeah. And so you find more details about this data set, and the data set itself could be external data set. So you just follow the link to access a complete data set, and there you will find like how to download it, right? So the next level is, we have a company, we have a research institute or a person who is already registered to our platform, and he wanted to upload his data set. And there he can go to the upload feature. He will find like 5 types specifically. That's a funded research project, marketplace, open dataset, conference, and journal articles. And I would not go into each single one of them, but I would show you an example, and I would mention a couple of important aspects there. So in BERD, we are strictly following the FAIR principles. That's for us quite important, actually. And one of the things that is important for the FAIR principles, for example, is to have a DOI for every resource in your platform. And so in our platform, we made it like as a required field to have digital object identifier. And if you don't have a digital object identifier, then we will create one for you. And I think we have an advantage here, since we already have an institute who have access to DARA and the data site, DOI generator, and so on. And we currently integrated the platform with an automated service for generating the DOIs that belongs to a dataset, right? I will not upload a test dataset because also this is a production server. So what I'm presenting you now, so whatever we upload would have to be somehow preserved for quite some time. But I would show you the dashboard. So an example that I made earlier. So it's a test marketplace example. And when you go to this test marketplace example, you will find that I uploaded like a sample JSON file. I made this record as a restricted and so on. And I have not published it yet, right? One important feature here is like when you upload a new dataset, like a data marketplace dataset, so that's the restricted kind of dataset, you have to, so you provide it to users. You wanted like the users are filling in a form, so you know who wanted to have access to those datasets, right? And so I come back to the search engine to just show you one data marketplace dataset. That's the example dataset that we have in the platform at the moment. So you can think of it as a dataset coming from a company, for example, right? And they are providing it to researchers, but not to everyone. It's not an open access dataset. So the researcher has to request access, and there you fill in a complete form. Let's say we in BERD wanted to access a dataset that is coming from a company XYZ, and then we write down, okay, that's BERD projects wanted to access this dataset, and then we provide more details about why do we want to access this dataset, and this entire form will go then to the dashboard of the company. And the company would say, yes, okay, this is a source that we could trust. We give him this database, and then they grant you access to this database or reject your access to it, right? So as a user now who requests access to this dataset, you will find it there in my requests. There is already a request for like such a kind of dataset. Many of those features are already coming up with Invenio, and we are extending Invenio also by a couple of features, right? So like the data marketplace feature is a feature that we extended. We extended the features also of in the data portal, the data set of the month, and a couple of more features. In Invenio, it's quite good because it gives you also a control over many things. So you can log in as a super admin, And you can have a quite strong administration panel that is having control of many different aspects. So for example, the user management, and there you can go inside, delete some specific users, and so on. I will not open this users dashboard because it's also a production platform. And the user data there is actually a real data. That's why I would probably not put it also in the live stream for different aspects. And last but not least, in the platform presentation, as also Klaus mentioned, BERD is much more than just a platform. So we have different aspects. We have different services as well. One of the portals is about the services that are provided by the BERD Consortium. So one of those services is the OCR. I will come back to it in the presentation. The knowledge graph, for example, we have a team in Mannheim and in GASIS who are working on different knowledge graph ontology methods, and they are enriching the metadata with more data, like using the knowledge graph and so on, and many different services. So I do invite you to take a look at those services later. Coming back to the presentation slides. So the last point I wanted to mention before handing it back to Klaus is the OCR service that is currently in preparation. We have an OCR service that is actually up and running. That's a recommender service. So a user, for example, he had some books that are not digital yet, and let's say in another language like Latin, for example, or Arabic or something else, and you wanted to have a recommendation of which OCR tool to use. And there you go to this OCR recommender service, you follow up a lot of questions, answer them, and the more details you give for your resource, the more accurate answers you will get at the end. So which OCR tool to use and so on. And there is also another OCR aspect that we will still have to integrate to BERD, but it's still under discussion. And yeah, so that's one of the external services that we could also mention in our presentation for today.
Okay.
At this point, I hand it over to you, Klaus.
Okay, thank you. So the last 3 slides will deal with the lessons learned with Invenio. So far, we started with the version 10 and have recently upgraded to version 12, even though version 12 is still in beta status and still under development. But it contains quite nice features which we needed, which were requested by our community. For example, one of the features was deleting the data from a specific user. And instead of implementing that by our own, we decided, okay, let's upgrade and take that feature from version 12. Still, it also has disadvantages. For example, at the time when we were using version 12, or upgrading to version 12, the documentation was not fully completed. And version 12 makes PIDs, in our case, DUIs, mandatory if you upload a data set. Of course, it makes sense with respect to the FAIR principles, but in version 12, it was not yet mandatory. And in version 12, we were kind of puzzled why we could not upload a data set until we debugged Invenio and then identified, okay, DUIs are mandatory or other PIDs. So that is the disadvantage if you start off too early with a new upgrade. On the other hand, we have now quite useful features we can just use. Also, I mean, to me, it's fine, but to the community, they see some limitations with respect to the user interface. I mean, developing, for example, a nice visualization app which kindly shows things which is cool and modern is not that easy with Invenio, because Invenio primarily is a research data management framework and not a fancy user interface design framework. And this results in some limitations. I will come back to the last one, the merger of customized modules, on my last slide. And then before that, we go to the next slide. What is very nice and very convenient is that Invenio supports different metadata schema. We have decided to use DataCite, but we could have also decided to use Dublin Core or Mark 21 as another metadata schema. And as you know, DataCite is a kind of framework for metadata. But in our case, we needed additional fields. For example, fields to describe the AI methods, and the methods from the artificial intelligence, which I was referring to at the beginning of my talk. And for that purpose, Invenio provides so-called custom fields, which allow you to customize these metadata schemas. And that was super convenient for us, because we could easily customize the metadata schema according to the specific needs of the BERD project. It's also a great advantage to us that several PID systems are supported. In BERD, we are using DUIs from DataCite, but in another project which we are like hosting, we have more publications rather than data sets. In that system, we are using handles. So you have a broad variety of different PID systems which you can use within the Invenio framework. Another lessons learned, and that's a pro and a con, is that the framework is really very, very modular. You have several modules, and the modules which are related to one topic, for example, authentication, are packed into so-called bundles. So we have an authentication bundle, we have a metadata bundle, and I think this might facilitate also later the alignment with the base for NFDI services, which focus, for example, on PIDs or for authentication for the NFDI as a whole. Could you go to the next slide? And that is already the last one. Here you have an overview about modules, for example, and the structure, how you develop in Invenio. You have the BERD platform on the right, and then the interface is the Invenio RDM app. And this one here accesses different modules in the background. For example, one which manages your accounts, another one for user profiles, another one for your vocabularies, and this one here for data sets. What we needed to do is to customize, and that is possible, to customize, for example, this module according to the specific needs of BERD. And that's an advantage. So you can access these modules, which are really in the background of the system, customize them according to your needs. Well, but then the issue is what happens if Invenio upgrades. First, the advantage of this modular concept is that all the modules like accounts, administration, user profiles, which you do not customize, can easily be upgraded because you didn't touch them. The modules you customized according to your needs, you need to upgrade as well if Invenio upgrades from 10 to 12, because you have to take with you your customizations. In this specific case, RDM records, the situation was even more challenging because that particular module did not exist in version 10. What Invenio did is they have merged two different modules into this particular RDM records module. And that required us to take over 1,800 lines of code for like functionality for a feature which we already had. But we just needed to, migrate it up to version 12. And I frankly don't know what happens if now two modules which we customize will be merged, for example, for version 14. then we would have to migrate not only the two modules, but also the entire code we have integrated into these modules. So this always bears the risk that from upgrade to upgrade, you have a lot of like customization work to do to get the level of functionality you had in the previous version. That is a lesson we have learned, and for that reason, we try to minimize the number of modules on the back-end side to be customized by our team. All in all, the advantages of Invenio by far outweigh the disadvantages. We would continue with Invenio. We would recommend everyone to use Invenio who has not yet made a decision. There is a very strong and large community around the world with which you can link up to. And again, like from the technology, the system is kind of robust and provides the technology and features needed for a proper research data management. A shortcoming are the limitations on the user interface side, but okay, you cannot have everything. That's it. That's what we wanted to share with you. And now we are done, and we would like to thank you for your attention. I think we unshare the screen and take maybe questions or comments from the attendees here. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Klaus and Ahmed, for your presentation. And with that, we say goodbye on YouTube first. In our next episode of the NFDI talk, the section metadata will talk about NFDI and schema.org, and we hope to see you there in 2 weeks.